What's up guys, this is Pete Clark here. I am very famous in poker, but I am even more famous in the world of impressions, and one of my better animal impressions I would say is definitely my fly. It goes a little bit like this. Bzzz. Pretty good, right? So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be the fly on the wall. We're going to be sitting back watching a Zoom pool. If you like this series, I will make this at more stakes. You're going to see me guessing what people have, scrutinizing and critiquing people's play. We're even going to see some hands that a friend of mine has played today while watching the 100 Zoom pool. This highlight reel that you're going to see me observing just shows you the wildest, most fun, coolest spots. So yeah, let's get into it and let's see if we can learn something while we're at it. For all of our paid content, check out carrotcorner.com. Alright, so this is a new series, potentially, if you guys like it, in which we are literally a fly on the wall. We're just going to be sitting here, watching this 100 Zoom game. On PokerStars, when you observe the pool, it shows you the most meaningful hands. So we're going to kick off here, button versus hijack, 3-bet pot. Check from the hijack caller. This is a board that's low enough that hijack's not connecting super hard. It's not a great board for button. They should slow play some overpairs here. Check back, I don't know, 40-50% of the time, something like that. Half pot on turn. This makes some sense, but I'd rather just play block or overbet. I'd rather just like block thin value pocket pairs there and overbet like sets and stuff like that. And then the river bet with queens, like the big river bet, looks pretty awful. If queens can bet at all there, it's a block, but I don't think it can. It should just check. Like there's going to be way too many ace-x and then just like worse hands calling turn there. Really, really bad river bet. Okay, so this looks like another 3-bet pot, small blind versus hijack. I go for half pot on this board. I'm guessing that's a reg. I'm guessing this isn't. I could be wrong. Yeah, decent sizing on flop. 10's a really good card for your range. You want to bet again here like B60. That's fine too. You can go a bit bigger. I'd go B60 with tons of hands. Like the bet frequency for king queen and stuff here is going to be really big. Maybe at that SBR you can actually go a bit smaller. What you don't want to do there with your bluffs, like exploitatively, is put in too much money on the turn with your bluffs and then have to fold like your gutters to jam. You want to go a bit smaller with your gutters there exploitatively, because if you face jam, you want to lose less when jammed on. You also want to not incentivize jam. The bigger you go, the more like a recreational player is just going to be like, well, I'm almost all in anyway, I'm just going to shove the rest. Okay, 3-handed pot here. Checks all the way through. How does this pot get out of hand? All of these hands get totally crazy, guys, so we know this gets out of hand in some way. If you guys like this content, I'm going to bring it to you at different stakes. We're going to be flying on the wall at micro stakes, like 100, like 25 an L, 500 when it's running. We'll look at all the different Zoom pools. So turn bet here in a call, and then river over bet. So what is being repped here? This is kind of interesting. Ace king makes some sense. I like the sizing there. That player's not shy to just basically say, hey, you're capped, I'm uncapped, I've got ace king here. Shout out to my buddy Cosmos. How's he going to play this hand? One of my best friends in poker, this guy, so let's hope he does us proud. 4-bet against a weaker player, so he's just going to have like value here basically. He's not going to have any bluffs, I wouldn't think. He checks back the flop. He's got ace king. Guys, he's got ace king. Yes, it's definitely ace king. Are we going to call the river jam though? With the ace king, I think we are. I think we're going to call this with the ace king. Yes! Absolutely great play, my friend, and I knew exactly what you had. I knew what you were doing. Fantastic hand. Love the call on the river. That's going to be super overbluffing the recreational player. Lovely hand. Good stuff. We love to see it. If you fold there, don't deserve to play the game. Shout out to Cosmos. Okay, next hand, guys. Yeah, we absolutely love to see that kind of call down against fish half pot. If you don't know this already, then fish half pot is one of the most overbluffed lines in the game tree. If you ever fold the fish half pot, like ever, you don't deserve to play the game. Like you just don't. It's such an overbluffed line. I can't stress this enough. Please, please don't fold against fish half pot ever. Okay, single raise pot here, hijack big blind. How is this one going to get out of hand? I would go for big bets on this flop. Small is also fine. Like you can spend a ton of time debating what c-bet size is best. In reality, it's probably the case that a c-bet size is better with one hand than another in certain spots, and you shouldn't just play one size with all of your range. I mean, you can as a simplification, it's totally fine. But if you really want to gain extra EV against fish specifically, then sizing up with certain parts of your range is definitely something I'd recommend. Check raise range here, decent sizing, should be like 2-pair plus ace queen, king queen backdoor, something like that. For value and then bluffs, ton of bluffs here, easy to overbluff this spot if you just routinely raise your open enders and flush draws and stuff. I'd say this is probably an overbluff flop check raise spot just because there are so many bluff hands you can use here. 6 is a really bad turn for big blind. There needs to be a ton of giving up here, even with like a bad flush draw. Like if you have 5-4 of hearts here, you probably have to check fold the turn at a really high frequency. It sucks, but it's just the way it goes here for your range. So I'd like to bet bigger on the turn. I'm not a fan of big blind's turn sizing here. If you are going to bet turn, you're saying that you have like a 6 that raised flop or a boat or something for value, so you may as well just go huge. I'm not a fan of that sizing. Check calling river here would be really, really weird for big blind, but it could happen sometimes. Queen 10 is like the only hand I think that is incentivized to play that way throughout, and I guess it makes sense to go smaller on the turn with that hand. You could also just check the turn there though, if you only wanted to play a strategy of really big bets. Okay, 2.2 under the gun, pretty reggy sizing. I'd ignore the blue tags here. A bunch of blue tags just happened in my database at some point. I don't know why I even have a 25 NL player. Oh no, it's 100 NL now. I was looking at 25 earlier. So 4-way pot. This is pretty terrifying. This range here is just going to be like really high equity draws, sets, some pocket pair. I think like if you're betting 7s like this, you're already playing really badly. But I think people will make this polarization error sometimes. And this raise, man, like what the hell is this? I don't think I would want to raise. I guess you could raise fold with like kings here, maybe. It's a bit weird. If this guy's a whale, you could definitely raise kings and like either raise call or raise fold depending on what happens next and who jams and stuff. So I guess overpair is still consistent here, actually. I think it's fine. It probably is a whale because they cold called hijack. So yeah, raising overpair seems good. If that was like 2 good players, like GTO would start to get really scared and not want to put much money in the pot. But I think in real life, this is fine with all kinds of hands. I'd go bigger on turn. If you're value betting here, I think I would just want to put in like half pot or something. If you have an overpair here and this guy's a fish, I would just put half pot in. The sizing just allows, I hate saying this because it sounds really fishy, but just allows like a multitude of pair plus draw and draw to actually mine you pretty profitably. So this whole price out the draws thing is obviously one of these like beginner poker player concepts, but here like it's double flush draw, right? GTO does size up on double flush draw generally, so I think we want to go bigger. Now if we have like queens or something, it's super gross. We probably just have to check on this card. Depends how bad this player is. Like you could go for like some block. I wouldn't jam with like queens here. So this is really interesting. Interesting bluff node. I actually think this is a good bluff spot with like a missed flush draw. Like if you have king jack of hearts here, I think this bluff's going to do okay. It's going to underperform because this guy might just be a station, but I think it's going to do all right. I'd be pretty surprised to see too many boats here after they don't jam the turn. Well, actually don't need to jam a boat on the turn. They can just slow play, I guess. So there'll be some. What is this guy thinking about calling with? Like ace-x of hearts, maybe? That seems like the hand that's most indifferent here to the sizing. But yeah, I think this is a good bluff now if you are bluffing. 6s, yeah, like sometimes you're just going to get outrageously stationed by some fish that just puts you on a heart draw. But that said, most of their range is just 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s. Like a flush gets there and ace comes. I think that's a decent bluff spot on the end there against a weaker player. But yeah, the 6s just went absolutely insane there. Leading that sizing with 6s, it's one of these plays that, like in theory, people are just not meant to continue worse hands at really any frequency other than draws, which are doing fine against you. So you're already just like committing a polarization mistake on flop there. You should just be going smaller with the 6s if you're going to bet. Using like third pot, quarter pot in 4-way pots is a really nice way to go. It allows you to just value bet more of your hands, get denial, which is of course more relevant the more people are in the pot. So yeah, just leading for pot 4-way is like a typical rec player mistake and one that you want to avoid. Okay, 3-bit pot, big blind versus button. So big blind's range actually has way more air here than you would think. It's going to have hands like jack 4, ace 4, king 9, etc. You're going to have to check this turn a ton. This is a really good turn for button here. It's not going to favor you, but going third pot when you are betting is going to be fine. And on the ace river, like some of your bluffs are going to get there, but you have some ace king with a heart, ace x with a heart. Like I don't know if we would want to jam that. We wouldn't want to jam that region though. So we're basically claiming to have nut flush now or second nut flush with this sizing. If we're bluffing here, it's kind of hard. Like we have to have the offsuit king of hearts or something. Like if we have the ace, we have the pair. So I'd imagine this is a really underbluff spot where people just have the nut flush like all the time. Because like if you have the ace of hearts, that's normally your bluff in runouts like this. But that's a pair, so you're not going to go all in with it. And now the king of hearts isn't blocking the nut flush. You don't want to go all in with that either. Top 2 pair for value with the ace of hearts blocker. Did not expect that. That's thinner than most people would go with all in. Most people's range is just going to be flushes in that spot. But with the nut flush blocker, yeah, I mean, it's getting kind of defensible, especially because you bet turn smaller. Therefore, you're going to get raised by so many of the sets and stuff at that juncture. So the smaller you bet turn there, the more you can like manipulate and funnel your opponent's range into just being more capped. And then maybe you can go a bit wider for these really big river bets. Okay, 4-bet pot here. So this min 5-bet thing, typically just going to be pocket aces all the time at these stakes. This is not an attractive spot to bluff in, like you should have some 5-bet bluffs here. Things like ace king, things like suited aces, etc. But I think this is going to be too much pocket aces, precisely. The way that some people play is that they just don't build a 5-bet range at all because it is really tricky to balance. But yeah, you're going to see a lot of aces here for sure. If I have kings here in the small blind, I'm not happy felting pre at these stakes, no way. So what you'll see people do here instead is just call down all the way with kings and call it cooler, but it's really not. If I had kings here in a small blind against a random player at these stakes, I think I'd just fold now. You might call one bet or something, but I'm really not happy to stack off here. This is interesting though, when he checks back turn. I don't think you're going to get bluff caught by the non-diamond aces, so if you have non-diamond kings here, maybe you bluff. It's kind of insane, right? Like crazy spot, but I think you actually do bluff non-diamond kings. Yeah, good value bet with the queens. I guess good call with the kings. Going all in there is a little bit too... I don't know, it depends who your opponent is. You can maybe go all in there with the kings actually, because there's like jacks and queens in your opponent's range. They're probably just jamming aces pre most of the time, so you should probably just go all in, actually, come to think of it. Right, here's our boy again, let's go. Let's go, Cosmos, let's do it. Absolutely rooting for my buddy here. Completely biased, as you would expect. Okay, 4-bet pot. Gonna do a load of call here. Really normal. Great flop for our range, in the sense that we have jacks and 10s, super pure. 3-betting them out hijack and always calling the 4-bet with them. Under the gun can have jacks here, but not 10s. They're going to have more aces and kings though. Quarter pot, fine. We're going to play a load of call here. I don't think we're going to do much raise on this texture. Doesn't seem like a raising texture. Not a bad card for us either. Like, we have some ace queen suited. Definitely a better card for them, I would think. They can have ace queen offsuit here. Really, really hard to bluff this spot. Like, you're going to have some ace x suited to bluff with, and that's going to be all that really is appetizing to bluff with. We snap, call the turn. Interesting. I guess we have queens a ton when we take this line, especially with that timing. I wonder if I can get this guy's hands 2 for 2. This is a scary place to face a triple. Yeah, okay, we probably don't have queens if we call here. We have ace queen, I guess. We have ace queen suited and we're like, shit, are we just dead? I think we just call though. I don't think we get away from this if we have ace queen suited, even though it pairs. Like, yes, he has kings sometimes and some jacks, but really easy call, I think. Maybe we don't have that then. What else could we be pondering with here? Ace king. Yeah. That's not so easy. That's a super underbluff spot. I wonder if there's scope to hero fold ace king on the river. It probably is an equilibrium call down, but we're actually blocking bluffs there with the ace, like the only bluffs are the suited aces, and I think it's going to be a super underbluff node, so I wonder if we just pitch the ace king there on the river. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and condemn that one, my friend. I think we need to pitch there. Like, if we have a straight or whatever, we obviously get it in, but with only one pair, like, I think... Sounds like such fish logic. One pair bad, straight good, but you get what I'm saying. Like, ace queen, you start to like win against some value jams, you chop with some stuff. I think with ace king there, like, maybe villain jams ace king sometimes and you chop, but we just lose to quite a lot of combos still. Ace queen is just a lot of combos. Some people like 4-bet ace queen off all day. It's just very hard to bluff there. I think we can fold. Even if we do chop sometimes, I think we could still fold. It's that underbluffed. Sometimes people just don't believe you, man. Like, people love to claim, like, they might post a hand in our Discord. Great place to post a hand. You get tons of feedback from the Carrot Senseis. We all have our own hand channels, 6 hand channels from experienced poker players giving you feedback to get in. Grab a course on carrotcorner.com or get private coaching with yours truly. And on there, you'll hear people say stuff like, well, the only stuff that was calling me was blah, blah, blah. Or I'm never getting called by worse, only better. And they just make up these reads that just aren't true. The way to think about what you're getting called by when you're value betting is that villain has this base range, right? They have this range of X combos and some percentage of ace combos calls you down. So even if you're looking at like third pair and second pair and you've bet 2x pot and you're like, man, hardly anyone's going to call against that. If there's like 40 combos of those hands and you think like a fifth of people are going to make the call, then you know it's still 8 combos. That's still going to make a big difference in these spots. Okay. 3-bet pot, ace 8-5, good sizing here, definitely a third pot texture, no bigger, just a bit too polarizing for the cutoff, who has tons of garbage like king jack of diamonds and tons of really good hands like ace queen plus, and some stuff in between too, but that's okay. 6 is slightly going to favor cutoff here, but we can still build a betting range, and if I was going to bother opening the action on a card that's good for villain here, I'm definitely going to polarize and just bet fairly big around ace queen plus or something. 3 river, we've got plenty of auto bluffs here, like king of clubs, queen x, queen of clubs, king x, and that sort of thing. So these are going to jam. I think stuff like, I don't know what the other bluffs would be, like 10-9 here is also, that'd be more of a, I think like 10-9 might be more of a give up. 8-9. I mean, I kind of see what you're trying to do on turn. Like, you might have some fold equity from underpair, etc. That hand is probably not as bad as it looks, you know? I do think turn's a check. I think reopening with that hand is bad. You get jammed on sometimes. It is the sort of hand, though, that can get better hands to fold. It does function as a bluff in some sense there, but not enough of one. And I think, like, reopening a hand with that much equity there is probably just a mistake. So I'm not a fan of that. You can look that up, Solver Nerds, and let me know what it says. You plug that into GTO Wiz or whatever, let me know, but that one just seems a bit odd. Okay, under the gun against small blind, king 9-9, and big blind, 3-way pot. You can do a ton of c-bet here. Like, you don't want to totally go into a shell just because it's a multi-way pot. This is a board where if you plug this into a three-way solver, there used to be one of those, simple three-way, I think it was called. You do quite a lot of betting because while your value thresholds are increased, your fold equity is more useful, right? You're getting more random cards to fold. So if you bet 5s on that flop, for example, and you get 2 folds, you've just shot up in the equity stakes like way more than you would in a heads up pot. So yeah, fold equity is more useful. How does this pot get out of hand? Okay, probe here. It's going to be a mix of stuff. It's probably going to be like too much King X in reality, too little nutted stuff. Well, it could be 9x as well, actually. So plenty of nutted stuff, actually. So 9x, King X. You might find some people go bigger with a 9. Some will just use the sizing. And then check raise from small blind. So checking twice and then check raising. That's interesting. So repping stuff like 4s or 10-9 or something here. Going to be some bluffs as well. So I'd imagine this is mostly 9x, but some King X in big blind's range here. Maybe some flush draw, combo draw, stuff like that as well. This looks really strong to me, but everything did just brick, so it's probably not as bad to call down here heroically as you would think. Like, yeah, check raise and then pot or slight overbets. Kind of terrifying from someone that flats small blind. Yeah, it's probably just a spot you don't want to call down much in. The reason I said it might not be like as bad as you would think is that there aren't that many value combos and there's like a lot of potential gutters and flush draws. But in truth, I just don't think that small blind is going to be the sort of player many times out of 10 who can actually find a check raise line on the turn. Like they're just going to be leading their draws on the turn for the most part and just check raising pocket 4s and 9x and boats. So yeah, I think you just want to fold the river there with all bluff catchers basically. And that'll be most of your range at that spot. Like even if you have a 9 there, it's probably like it might be a crying call because you just block so much value at that point. You have like an amazing bluff catcher. Or maybe if you have a good 9, you have a value beater, but it's pretty disgusting, right? Like it's not a happy spot. Okay, 4-bet pot under the gun against cutoff. 6-5 deuce. Yeah, you can go ahead and do a ton of betting. Yeah, you can jam here too with like queens, jacks probably. At this SPR, it's hard to go too wrong. I think the jam with the queen jack is fine. So is call though, and the kings is going to scoop it. So this is a really weird format for a video. It just occurred to me that you could do this. I really just don't know how this is going to go down. I think it'd be cool to do it higher stakes though. Okay, 10.9. A lot of people go bigger than this these days from the big blind with the more polarized range, but this is definitely a reggy sizing as well. 10.9. It's a bet on the small side. 4-bet 24 seems good. 4-betting in general, going to be nice in general at these stakes because people are going to have a hard time finding the jams. There's a lot of jams in GTO in this late position spot, like ace-x suited, that you just don't run into as often as you should. This is obviously a totally standard cooler, but kind of important just to stress that if you're in doubt about 4-betting against a reg in late position, you should probably do it as often as you can get away with. Most people are just bad at finding jams, and if they do call you, they're bad at defending post-flop in 4-bet pots. So although like they might not overfold, they probably will overfold to the 4-bet, but that's not even the end of the story. It's like how they're going to play after the flop as well. So sometimes to find the right exploit, you have to think into the future of the hand and think about how it's going to go down. King 9-5 two-tone, so you can go big here. Yeah, big sizing works well in this board. It's a lot of mergy stuff in your opponent's range that really starts to plummet in EV when you use the big sizing, so that's an indicator that big size is fine. You're making a lot of hands indifferent there, like gutters with a big bet, but not with a small one, so that's why it's going to be alright. Good sizing on the turn as well, not wanting to overbet on flush turns that equalize that nut advantage. That's the theory side of it at least. And then river, yeah, interesting spot. Definitely a lot of auto bluffs here, like something X of hearts. Like something of hearts X, I should say. With this sizing, your value region's probably mostly going to be flushes. You can probably get away with like aces with a heart as well, or ace king with a heart, and that's going to be about it. The jam here, the bluffs would need to be something like ace 9 with ace of hearts, etc. Calling off with the 8 high flush. This is the kind of play that, while you need to probably call there in theory a good amount of the time, if not always, probably not always, probably just a decent amount of the time, doing so in real life is going to be problematic at stakes like this. So I think when you're still at like 100 NL, you're going to just run into very few regs that can ever pull the trigger on bluffs. So the problem for that spot is like, while there are some regs that are probably over bluffing because they're jamming every time they have, a 9 with a king or ace of hearts or something, there'll be others that just never ever bluff and they're really going to drag down your win percentage. I'd be careful there. I think I would just like bet fold the river with that hand. It sucks, sure, it's painful, but also, did you see the guy's timing? He just snap called. Like, you should never be snapping spots like this. Like, if you're going to make a big call off for loads of money on the river, the last thing you should be doing is snapping. See if we can get into some more cool spots. This may not be one of them. A limp from a recreational player. 3.5x seems good out of position. These spots are just typically going to be really over defended. Now, because you're out of position, I would actually play quite a lot of 3-bet there because like I don't really want it going check at this SPR. So I'd probably just play a lot of jam there with my value region. Check calling down here is dicey. Like if you have a really good hand and maybe they don't in the small blind. What? Ace-7 and Ace-5. Yeah, kind of maniacal hand. But that's the spot where, in general, if you, okay, at that stack depth, you can probably just slow play even out of position. But if you're a bit deeper, you need to be playing jams on flop and stuff. It's going to be a really mergy range that raises you, and there's not going to be a lot of air that you're worried about blowing out the pot. What you don't want to happen if you're deeper there is to go check on the turn and end up on the river, you know, winning way less. Okay, 3-bet pot here. Check on turn. 4 flush is typically going to be better for the pre-flop aggressor. They're both playing very quickly. Just note this, guys. This kind of timing is just a sign of like people who aren't trying to play good poker, who are just kind of tilted. On 4 flush, when it goes bet, check, bet, it's actually typically going to be quite overbluffed. Obviously, they have the value hand there, but in most situations, if there's a 4 flush run out and it goes bet, check, bet, what you're going to see is that people have checked too much air on the turn, not slow played enough on the turn, and then they end up just overbluffing the river. So that's a grade E thing. You can check out grade E of the Carrot Poker School at carrotcorner.com. And as we watch this aimless showdown with 8s and 9s, I'll just show you that. So this is grade E. Pick up at Carrot Corner. It is a mass data driven course. It shows you exactly how populations are playing common spots and how you can exploit them. We have tables and charts and graphs of data. Definitely don't want to miss grade E. It shows you basically what your default exploitative game should be when you don't yet have a read on the actual opponent yet. Just because villain is unknown doesn't mean that you don't still have a ton of exploitative data at your disposal. You definitely want to use it and you want to learn what it is. That's why mass data work is so important. Okay, single raise pot. This is a board you can check back insanely often, theoretically. And it's actually a board where big blind could build some donk bets. When this is rainbow, it's even worse for the pre-flop aggressor because they don't get to neutralize the rank of the board by having flush draws and flushes. 10 of spades turn, probably a spot where you can do some B75. Mostly, you could do a bit of overbet here maybe, but it's a bit more of a B75 run out, I think, in theory. Not that that's a bad thing though. If you actually have Jack 9 here, I'd guess this is underfolded. These wet kind of turns tend to be underfolded because people just have a lot of natural looking calls. So I probably would overbet with Jack 9 there, exploitatively. And then on the river, this is going to be a pretty weird spot. If you made me guess, I would again guess this is underfolded and not a great bluff spot by any means. Especially after this tanking, this is a bit sus. Yeah, okay, this guy just has a 9, like very often here. Sometimes some stupid spewy merge, but definitely a 9 the vast majority of the time. Don't bluff catch here with like 2 pair. You're going to go all in. Wow. Is this just queen 9? Like, is this ever anything else? This looks suicidal if it's not. Yeah, queen 9. Makes sense. One more hand. Kind of enjoying this. This is quite fun. Let me know what stake I should do it at next. I'm also picturing what the thumbnail's going to be. Hopefully it's been a good one. Hopefully I look like a fly. I wonder if the editors made me look enough like a fly to pull this off. Also let me know about that in the comments. Okay, 3-bet, cold call. Whenever you see this, you know who you're up against. And we're going to go 3-way here. This is an insane board for the cold caller's range, right? It's going to be pretty good. Although these fish are just going to have like random cards they shouldn't have, so it won't be as good. Wouldn't recommend that you guys play cold calls against 3-bets, guys. When you're not closing the action like that, it's just pretty dicey to just dangle out 7 big blinds into the middle. Check raise will be like 10s, jacks, 9s, 8s, 7s, and 6s, and some flush draw. Guess that's the range. I'd still jam my overpair here. Yeah, you're going to run into a set a lot, but just stick it in. Like, you're going to run into 10s as well. This could be a lot of random shit. Definitely still correct to jam queens or whatever. Yep, so aces against king, queen of spades seems good. And it's going to be a win for the weaker player, which is what we like to see. Alright guys, this has been fun. We're not going to look at this hand. We're going to be back with more of this soon. Okay guys, I changed my mind. We're going to do one more hand because this is our friend again. We have a 3-bet pot, king, jack, 4. This is the encore you've all been waiting for. We've looked at 2 of his hands already. We're going to look at one more today. Making special exceptions here. 3-bet pot, big blind, cut off. How would I play this situation? I'd probably just play small bets, but you can play big bets here too. It doesn't really matter. King Jack 4 is really good for range. You want to bet at very high frequency. Small bet looks good. And we get like small raised in position. I like the sizing here from the reg. This is a hard thing to deal with, for sure. You're going to play some jam here. So there's going to be like some ace queen combos jamming. This looks like a decent enough jam. You might want to slow play this one though. This might be one of those hands that's doing so well against your opponent's range that you just slow play, but we get there, which is what you love to see. All right, guys, we're out of here. We'll see you soon. Hopefully we'll do this again. If you like Fly on the Wall, let us know. If you don't, let us know. See you in the next video. It's carrotcorner.com for all of our paid content. Catch you later.